Altogether, the total crypto portfolio is $922,000.
For myself, I currently own about 2.5% of my portfolio in cryptocurrency, and I'm looking to bump that up to 5% by the end of the year.
Bitcoin! I'm just kidding. So I've been buying crypto, specifically Bitcoin, since as early as about 2014, and I had no idea why I was buying it at the time. Everyone else was too. So I guess it was like college all over again. And I remember selling 6 Bitcoins at a price of $300 a piece. And so that $360,000 now worth of a mistake is really what made me realize that you should always research exactly what you're buying. So I did a deep dive on Bitcoin to understand why it had value, what it was, and where it was going. And so I've been buying it ever since. And my initial principal value or investment, that's money that I've put into it, has been around $100,000. So let me show you my investment right now. This is my BlockFi account right here. It has around $715,000 in it. I love BlockFi because you could put your crypto on there and you can start earning a high interest rate on your money. And I realized that $715,000 is a ton of money, probably way too much to keep in something as risky as crypto. And if I was smart, I would sell off my initial principal investment of $100,000 and just play with house money. But smart and YouTuber are mutually exclusive. No, I'm half kidding. I don't want to sell off my initial principal investment of $100,000 because I would get hit with extremely high taxes, and that's short-term capital gains rates of 37%, so that's $37,000 immediately out the window, which is basically a free Tesla, and I don't want to do that because I don't need to do it. I don't need the money immediately, so I'm gonna continue staying in for now unless Bitcoin hits something like $100,000, and hopefully by that point I will have held it for at least a year, in which case at that point I would probably pay those long-term capital gains rates, which is a lot better. But here's the breakdown of all of the crypto that I own. I have 8.7 Bitcoin and 90 Ether in my BlockFi account, which is the majority of my crypto investments, but I also have 2,592 Cardano on Binance, and I love Cardano. I made a video about it before. It's got a great community behind it. It's sort of like Ethereum 3.0, it promises a lot, but I still like Ethereum a little bit more. So I still put in $3,500 into Cardano. It's sort of like my hedge against Ethereum. If Ethereum is ever gonna be challenged, it's probably going to be by Cardano. I also have 0.01 Bitcoin on Binance as well, all totaling something like $10,326. I also keep around $50,000 in my Coinbase Pro account, and I use that money to dollar cost average into Bitcoin daily by buying $1,000 worth of Bitcoin every single day. And I also have 16 million OMI tokens. I recently made a video about OMI, and I think the NFT space is going to be huge, and OMI is going to be an important player in that space. That totals roughly $146,000. So altogether, the total crypto portfolio is $922,000, which is crazy saying that out loud. I did not think it would be approaching $1 million. Here's what I've learned from owning crypto and talking with really smart people. Diversify your investments and never put your eggs into one basket. But here's what I've learned from talking to the most successful people. Always invest your money into high conviction beliefs that you understand to the nth degree. Sometimes those beliefs are believing in ourselves because we understand our potential and what we're capable of. And sometimes those beliefs are in asset classes like crypto. Now, once those people become wealthy, then they'll diversify their wealth. But I've rarely met highly successful people that got that way being diversified already, which makes sense because the more thinly you spread yourself, the more your returns revert to the average. Which makes sense because if you look at my dividend portfolio with how many stocks I have, I get average returns. There's nothing wrong with being average, I'm extra average, but that's just something to keep in mind that I've learned.
I know people would be upset if I don't mention Bitcoin. Now here's the thing, historically, Bitcoin is still unproven. We don't have 100 years of data to back it up. We don't have any precedent from which to follow. And we have no idea how this is gonna play out over the next 20 to 50 years, but you have to admit in the short term, it's pretty impressive. Bitcoin was the best performing asset of the decade, returning 10 times more than the stock market. It was also the best performing asset of 2020, outpacing everything else. So I think there's something to be said about taking it a bit more seriously and potentially looking into a way to incorporate this into your portfolio as something you buy once and hold on to forever. For myself, I currently own about 2.5% of my portfolio in cryptocurrency, and I'm looking to bump that up to 5% by the end of the year. And then after that, I'm holding on to it for the rest of my life. I think there's certainly a chance it might drop 90% or a chance it might 10x from here. But given the relative newness compared with everything else that I've mentioned, my thought was it's worth it to give it a chance and see what happens and where it goes from here. Other investment firms have advocated for the same thing as well, with Cathie Wood advocating Bitcoin as an excellent way to diversify through an uncorrelated asset class, and JP Morgan finally telling their clients that they could have a 1% allocation to Bitcoin even after calling it a fraud that will blow up a few years ago. So my philosophy is it's a fairly unproven, extremely volatile asset class that might one day be worthless. But there's enough potential here for me to invest a small portion of my portfolio and then just hold on to it and see what happens. Who knows if it's going to be the best performing asset class every single decade. But in the chance that does happen, a 1 to 5% allocation could end up making you a lot of money. Or not, who knows? Not investment advice.